these two people took it upon themselves to chastise a disabled human being on a trail. And I want to show you the video because I want to talk about how we deal with these issues, these social issues, and some of the takes that I have been receiving from the people after I posted one of these videos.
Nice job.
Seriously, dude, you're not supposed to have e-bikes on this thing.
This is a handicap piece of equipment.
And
what?
show me the rules saying that you're allowed to do this.
You're serious? Who are you?
Come on, buddy. You're breaking the rules at the park.
It's a handicap piece of equipment. I can't walk.
You should have led with that.
He did lead with that.
I said it. Is this your husband? Class act, brother. You're a class act.
You guys are a class act. You know the rules.
Class act. I mean, you're
to be there, bro.
God, dude.
Everyone's on a motorbike.
Wow. Class act.
So these people took it upon themselves to approach a disabled human body and question them for being on the trail, question them for being on the trail. But it was, first of all, it was confrontational. It was aggressive. He stood in front of him. And it was downright insensitive because after he told them that he was disabled, they still was like, he was like, ugh. And she was like, you should have led with that. I cannot believe that these people have been, that is a lack of sensitivity, humanity, but above all, entitlement and privilege, right? And so these things have been happening for a long time. And what happens is that we now are capturing it with the phones, we have videos, and we have evidence that it's happening, but it's happened forever. So people who are marginalized, the people who are not able-bodied, the Black people, brown people, LGBTQIA plus people, indigenous people, immigrants, you name all of us, right? All of us. That these people that have been in a position of power and privilege don't see us as fully realized human beings. And that is why they can question our existence. They can police us. They monitor us. They think they can talk to us any kind of way. And there are people who react that way, where he said, class act, brother. And then there are people who react like this.
What you gonna do, boy? What you gonna do in here with everybody here, man? What you gonna do? Get your ass up there and get your Hey! What you gonna do, boy?
So there are people who react like that. So I posted this video, and quite a few people of color came at me and said, this video is perpetuating violence. We have to find a better way. We can't continue to do this. This is ignorant. He's going to go to jail. Somebody was like, that's why they think that we're ghetto. And I wanted to end with this because I'm very passionate about this. I'm going to say a few things about this, and you can take this and y'all can cancel me and do what you will. I don't care. I ain't trying to get canceled by a bunch of disconnected motherfuckers who don't stand on the ground for shit. When I risk my life, I have fucking white supremacists cracking my emails, threatening my life, putting my address on social media, and a bunch of motherfuckers who sit online all day long and complain and talk shit about people and are always outraged and ain't doing nothing on the ground. When I hit that ground daily to try to change the world for my children and my children's children and also yours. I'm not going to let people make me feel like I can't think the way that I think, and not grow and be comfortable in a space because I'm always on edge about what I'm saying because I'm gonna piss somebody off. One, you're gonna always piss somebody off. So, what I have to say about this is one, it is interesting to me how people of color are always held to a higher moral standard. You've heard me talk about this before. And yes, I mean Black people and people of color alike, indigenous people. There is this truth. I understand there's a divinity that rolls that is within us because we've been able to endure, genocide, colonization, all of the above, and we're still here. So I know that you know that we're magic because you've never been able to extinguish us. But this divine morality that has been placed on us does not exempt us from being real, right? So when people employ violent tendencies towards people of color, historically, we were not able to react because the consequences would be death and something close to death, right? That is what's been in the DNA of the country and the world. So we've had to endure and endure and endure. Now that we are tired, there are a lot of people who are not going to let you call them boy. There are a lot of people who are not going to let you touch their bodies because it is not okay to do that. Right. And I took note from what Charlemagne said, because I was one of those people that used to say, I am not my grandmother. I will do this. I did it on the Larry Wilmore show. I got a different perspective and I respect it. Our ancestors did fight. We didn't hear about them because they don't put those in the history books. They put the people in the history books that got beat up and murdered so that we could stay in our place. But what I will say is I am tired of people telling people of color that they need to be more moral than their fucking attackers and abusers. So if you get punched in your face, if you get slapped and we go to jail for it, then we're willing to go to jail because we tired of your motherfucking ass thinking you could put your hands on us without consequences. We are not fucking ragdolls and puppets and not available to your exploitation, your abuse, your violence. And many of us are not available to that for that shit anymore. Many of us are saying, we're not doing that. So I have to say that when I see people finally exploding, to sit around and say, oh, how dare you? That doesn't work for me anymore. We can watch ourselves get murdered over and over and over again. We have watched the videos from Corinne to Sandra getting arrested. We saw George Floyd getting killed. We saw Laquan McDonald. We watched ourselves getting beat up, murdered, extinguished, assassinated, stomped on all the time. And people just say, oh, this is an outrage. Put up the hashtag. Now you see videos of motherfuckers punching you in your mouth, slapping you in the face, and doing right back to you what has been historically done to us. And now you want to be outrageous. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me, especially people who have specialized in violence and abuse or have benefited from it and stayed quiet. So if they think we ghetto, I'm ghetto like Newport cigarettes, as Dr. Dre said. And I ain't embarrassed nor ashamed because the reason I'm ghetto is by design. Because I grew up in a motherfucking neighborhood where I had to survive because I didn't have resources and I didn't have what I needed so that I can have the extensive vocabulary to not be ghetto. So for you to try to blame me for that or try to get me to hide from it because you're going to look down on it, I ain't with that. I come from drug addicts and broke people and welfare recipients. And I love every single one of them. And I will stand up for them over anybody within the Harvard community because they stacked themselves up so that I could eat and that I could live. In spite of their resources and where they grew up, they did it all for me. So I'm never going to be ashamed of being ghetto. So if white people call me ghetto for punching one in the face after they touched me because they think that they could touch me, then fuck those people. And I would rather put together funds to bail people out of jail for defending themselves and standing their ground like George Zimmerman did than to sit around and continuously watch videos of my people, Black people alike, which is my people, all of us continuously being bullied, mistreated, abused, and murdered. And that is where I stand with that. So instead of saying, oh my God, what are they going to think about us? I'm going to tell you what they think about us. They have already showed what they thought about us when we can get beat down, assassinated, and murdered, and it's still happening and happening more since even George Floyd died. So you can miss me with that. I don't do the respectability politics. I'm not going to blame people of color, Black people, for their own oppression. And I'm not doing that. So listen, if you have a problem with that, then you have a problem with me. Because stand your ground has to be across the board. Because Black people, brown people, indigenous people, marginalized people work in this country. They pay taxes alike. And they too are entitled to all of those unalienable rights that you constantly keep talking about. Right? When Colin kneeled, y'all talk shit. When they set a target on fire, y'all talk shit. You know why? Because that means that you don't think of us enough to believe that we are worthy of all of the things that this country says are supposed to be granted to its citizens. And because you don't see us as fully realized human beings, we're still 3/5 of a person. You stand by and let it happen. And until you are willing to take those rifles that you keep showing on social media to go fight for my rights and my right to live and my children's right to live too, then I don't consider you an ally. You are what they call a foe. Because if you were really an ally, you would lock and load and say, let's go. Because you are an American too. And that White House that we salute to, your ancestors built that bitch. So that's where I stand with all of this. So I don't care what they think about us because they don't think much about us anyway. When we constantly getting beat, burnt, and mistreated in this bitch, and they not fighting for that. So that's where I stand. Immigrants in this country are very mistreated. People think that they can say and do all kinds of shit to people who are immigrants, whether they come from Mexico or Haiti. And there are a lot of people trying to divide us. With respect to the Black American descendants of slaves in this country who are owed reparations, I mean, that's undeniable, right? They are. And the immigrants of all the slaves from around the world, the Dutch owe us money, the French owe us money, all the labor that was done for a long time for free. They're owed reparations. But I'm not going to sit here and divide us in this way, because if you quote in Malcolm X, you quote in one of my people, because Malcolm X is an islander, child of immigrants. If you quote in Louis Farrakhan, then you quote in one of my people, because Louis Farrakhan is a Caribbean man who was in a calypso soca band, by the way, if you didn't know that. Pull up the videos. If you are quoting Marcus Garvey, you are quoting one of my people, because I'm Caribbean, and Jamaicans and the boat stopped early. We've colonized by different people. You could see our food, you could see our music, you could see our cultural connection to Africa. It is not a figment of my imagination. Toussaint L'Ouverture, if you don't know who he is, you should know, because kick down that door for liberation for us all. So I'm not going to work on the division platform. And I have respect for those who decide that they want to do it.